Hey, welcome to the Prusik party. We've reached an important milestone in a GCC student's life where we have 3 sets of sterling 6mm accessory cord. It has been cut and the tips have been melted. This is our shortest one, this is our medium one, and this is the long one. We'll start with the shortest. The focus of this one will be as a what's called our hero loop. And the 2 ends are joined with a double fisherman. We'll start with one end. It'll go across that other running end. Loop underneath. Cross again. Cross underneath one more time. Now if you look at this little channel that I've made with the tail is on the far side between my finger and this other strand that's running between the 2. I want you to take the tail and follow that finger all the way through. So I've gone across with the tail. I'm following the finger out of that little bundle. When you pull it snug while pulling on the tail, it increases the length of that tail. We're shooting for about 2 knuckles worth on your pinky. Or if you check the grid, about 2 inches. And you can see here 1, 2 squares, 2 inches. So that's your first double fisherman. You can check that it's correct by seeing that there's an X on the top side and an equal sign on the back side. So there's an equals there and roughly an X on that side. So since we crossed towards ourselves on the first one, we're going to cross away from ourselves on the second one. Loop underneath, cross over again, and with this tail, again putting our finger between the tail, this other running band, and the fingertip, follow it through. So we've pulled the knot away from ourselves. If we pull the knot away from the tip, we increase the length of the tail. You should again end up with about 2 inches of tail. When you pull them snug and pull tight, the knot binds. You can increase this by pulling a tail and a part of the loop, and then a tail and part of the loop on the other side. You know it's the right way around because you can see the X there and the X there. Flip it over. There's 2 equal signs next to each other. One here and one here. Pull it tight, and you know it's snug and ready for use. That was our shortest one. That'll be our hero loop. The next cord that we're going to tie with a double fisherman's is the middle length. This one is going to be your harness Prusik. We're going to tie it in the same method as we tied the hero loop. So we have a loop. The strands opposite from each other. Cross over. Cross under. And once again, with that little tail on the opposite side from our finger with this running line in between, follow the tail out, pulling the tail in a manner that gives you about 2 inches worth of tail. Equals on one side, or sorry, X on one side, equals on the other. Passing away from us this time with the tail, over the loop, under, over, once again with the finger on the opposite side as the tail. Follow the fingertip through, pulling in such a manner that gives you about 2 inches of tail when it's all locked up. There you go. So when you pull these together, you once again have 2 X's colliding with 2 equals on the other side. This is, we tie it in that manner because it offers the most secure double fisherman's knot. And that is what your finished mid one should look like. Last but not least, moving on to the longest length. This will be our foot Prusik. We can start with both ends in one hand, passing it all the way through my right hand until I find the middle, or any other way which you want to find the middle of the longest length of accessory cord. Pull about a foot out, and then a little bit more. So in this case, I probably got it at about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 inches. And we do a figure 8 on a bite here. I've got it pinched at that 18-inch mark in one hand, in my left hand, with my right hand passing the bite underneath, over, and then back out from underneath that top mark. Now this figure 8 on a bite isn't dressed correctly. As you can see, it's a little bit twisted here. So to address that, we could shuffle that side over, pull it snug. And this one looks a little twisted, so let's work that around. You can always loosen it up and just kind of twist some of these bands until they're all in the right place. Strands until they're all in the right place. So taking a look at it now, we can see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all these even bands of accessory cords linking up together. Dressing a knot evenly creates the best hold in a knot for us. Checking the length of this bite, this is eventually going to be Prusiked around a rope. So a way to check this quickly is to wrap it around your finger. 1, 2, 3 times. So that'll give us a little bit of wiggle room to work with, and that will be appropriate. Going now to the ends of the rope, ends of the accessory cord. Here, between the knot and the ends, on each one put an overhand. This knot can always be adjusted later as far as location. So now I've got an overhand in each strand and a figure 8 on a bite. Let's work with one and then the other. So taking the tail again above the overhand, I'm going to tie a double fisherman's, passing under, over again, and then follow the finger through like we discussed earlier. Appropriate amount of tail, and pull it snug. This is roughly the right size to put a boot through with a crampon on. If that needs to be longer or shorter, you can do this by just scooting the knot in either direction. When I say scoot the knot, I mean loosen it up and move it by pulling some slack on one side of the knot and taking the slack out of the other side of the knot. Now it's a little bit wider. Repeat with the other tail. So once again, over, under, over again, under again, and following the fingertip through, just like we did on all the other double fishermans. Pull that snug against the knot. You got yourself another loop. In summary, you now have a figure 8 on a bite and 2 loops that are closed with a double fisherman's, using an overhand as a stopper knot to set the size of that loop. And same thing on the other side, setting the size of the loop. If they aren't quite matched, as these two aren't, this one's a little bit longer. This one could be lengthened by taking some slack out of one side of the knot and pulling it through a little bit closer. That should be bang on. There's your foot Prusik. Thanks.